Let's review 3 of the books I bought in London. Usually I do my reviews with books that come from the same genre, but this time I thought let's talk about the books I bought in London. And as you might have seen from the thumbnail, it's about one good, one bad, one ugly, so I'll let you guess which one it is. But we're gonna start first with the good one, so drum roll. And the good one is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St Clair. This one is about the story of Lilith, from like the myth of Lilith in the Bible. And you follow Lilith in kind of a urban fantasy world where women have powers, but they are very controlled by the men. It's not even a patriarchal society, it's like a dictator with just men in powers, and women have powers, but they can only use them if the father or the husband allows it. So yeah, that's great. And Lilith is part of like one of the 5, I think, prominent family in these cities, and they kind of are at the head of the city, like politically. And she's part of one of the 5 families, but she decided to escape and go to the part of the city that's more like free, and also there's a lot more scenes in the city. It's like strip clubs, drugs, stuff like that. It's all in the same district, and she took refuge in this district. And the guy at the head of the district, this district, is Riv, and Lilith always had a crush on him. And the power she has as a woman is that she can detect lust and like sexual desire from people around her, and she can use this lust and this desire to kind of manipulate them. But the thing is Zahariv, she never felt any desire coming from him, and she's like, why? Because everybody, I can sense it, even if it's not very targeted towards her, this kind of desire. And she's like, why doesn't have any desire from me? Why can't I feel anything? But she still has a crush on him. And one of the things about Lilith is that she's also a thief. She likes to steal things and sell them back in the black market, or just clients who want specific things. And at the beginning of the story, she steals a dagger, and when she tries to sell it to a pawn shop, the owner of the pawn shop then dies very mysteriously. And she's like, okay, that's weird. They try to find out who the killer is, but they don't really find it, or him or her. And then she also realized that the guy she stole the dagger from also died with like the same circumstances and the same he died the same way, actually. So now she's very intrigued, and she talks about it to Zahariv. And the story is kind of, you follow them trying to figure out why this is happening, why this kind of power is happening with the dagger. But there's also, since it's a story about Lilith, it's also a lot about her religion and like religious commentary, which I love. I don't love religion, but I love religious commentary. With like the place of a woman in the religion, also a lot of religious abuse and sexual abuse. So it's not that easy to read. I didn't know coming to the story that there's gonna go that far. But I mean, it's not completely surprising because we are talking about religion. But Lilith lived quite a few hard things due to religion, especially with like the head priest of the city. You can guess what he did to her, and the parents never protected her, so that's one of the reasons why she left her family. So it was quite hard to read, and she also wants revenge because of that. Not really towards her parents, but more towards the religious groups at the head of the city. So it's quite an interesting story. It's a lot also about female rage. Also, another thing that can be quite triggering, it's that there's a loss of a loved one who was pregnant, but quite a gruesome scene and quite abrupt. So if you are someone who could be quite triggered by that, I don't think you should read this one, because it's a part of the story. Because, like I said, Lilith ran away from her family, so she created her new family with like a couple and Zahariv, and also other people in the the district. So it's like found family, but she lost someone from the found family, and it's quite hard. It's also about grief. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story. And I say it's a good book and not a great book because a few things kind of not rub me the wrong way, but I was like, So for example, in her fan family, like I said, the couple, the guy in the couple calls her baby girl, and I'm like, that's weird. And he kept calling her baby girl, and I was like, it's quite weird, I think, because he's also in a relationship, and it's not a baby girl like sexual intentions behind this nickname, but I thought it was weird. And also the other thing I didn't really like is that her powers are quite prominent in, like, I think the first third of the book, but then you don't really see them, you don't really see her talking about them, so I was like, okay. And if you watched my last romance review, I talked about the fact that a guy smoked in this romance. I was like, ew. And in this one, Zahariv smokes a lot, but I think the author was quite aware of the fact that smokes smells. So Lilith at some point is like, oh yeah, he smokes all the time, but it doesn't smell like smoke. And I was like, okay, this one, since it's like in a fantasy and magical world, I can get behind the fact that the guy smokes and it doesn't impact the smell, the taste, or anything because of what he smokes. So I thought it was quite a funny, just a funny precision to be like, actually, it doesn't smell. But yeah, I really enjoyed this story. Even though it's not a new favorite, I'm gonna keep this book on my shelf because the plot twist, not the plot twist, but the cliffhanger at the end, I really enjoyed it. I found it very powerful, and I'm really excited to read this book. And also, if you read Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, and you didn't really like it, or maybe too much details or too much characters, and that was kind of my feelings when I read the trilogy. It's like too much, everything everywhere, so many plot twists, so many like red herring and stuff like that. So if you felt that way reading Crescent City, read this one. It's very similar, but much more simple, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, I really recommend this one, especially if you want, like, again, religious commentary and just seeing a strong female character in your book. Then let's talk about the bad, and the bad is Swordheart by T. Kingfisher. I was very excited to read this one, especially because the cover, I love the cover. And in this one, you follow Hala, who has inherited the fortune and the house of her great uncle that she took care of until he died. But the family of this uncle is like, actually, no, we want to keep the house and the fortune in the family, so now we're gonna force you to marry your cousin by marriage. So they're not blood related, but they're still cousins. And she's like, no, I don't want to remarry, because she was married before. Her late husband died, but she's like, no, I don't want to get married. I don't even want to have children, so she doesn't want to have heirs to continue the family. She's like, no, actually, I don't want any of it. But at some point, they're like they lock her in her room so she can't get out. And she's like, I think the only way I can get out of this is just die. And because she's locked up in her room, she doesn't have a lot of solution to kill herself, but she has a sword on her wall that serves like as decoration. So she takes it out of the scabbard. I hope that's how you pronounce this word. I never really pronounced it before, but she takes it out. And when she takes the sword out, a spirit comes out of it, but a very corporeal spirit. And the guy in the sword is named Sarkis. And now he's like her protector. He's like, don't kill yourself. I'm gonna protect you. That's my goal, because you took me out of the sword. So now I'm your protector. So they escape the house, and they have to do it quite quickly because the police in this world has been called. It's it's a fantasy world, so it's not like the police. It's not a urban fantasy or stuff like that. I don't remember the name they call the police in this one. And now the goal for Sarkis and Hala is to go find a guild that helps with the law and like with the inheritance. And so basically that's just the plot of the story. And to be honest, it's more than 400 pages, this book. and that's the only thing, that's the only point of the plot. They have to go there, they have to come back and gain her inheritance without the family interfering. And of course stuff happens along the way, but I thought the plot was quite weak for that long of a book. And of course, yeah, they found, like, I don't remember if there was creatures, but they found like people who want to rob them, stuff like that. And to be to be honest, it was not that memorable of a book. And also, something I was quite disappointed in was because it's marketed as the very funny book, and at the beginning I was like, okay, it's my kind of humor. I don't know how to say it in English, because in French you can say first degree or second degree. Like if you take everything first degree, it's like you take it very seriously, you take it very literally. In second degree, it's like sarcasm, irony. And I tried to do my research to find very similar way of phrasing it in English, but I couldn't find it. So if you know how to say it in English, leave it in the comments. That would help me greatly, because I did research multiple times but I couldn't find it. But I think to describe this humor, it's very sarcastic but also very silly and very naive humor. If you read The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and if you read this book, in this book there's a character, the gargoyle, and he has a very similar humor than this one, but it's just one character who has a very naive or very sarcastic humor, and the other characters are just like not normal, because it's not a flow to have this kind of humor. But the tone of the book is just not, it's not all the time humor. And that's why the gargoyle is one of my favorite character, also with this backstory, but that's a caveat. But if you read this book, you can understand what kind of humor happens in this one. But the problem is, it was all the time. So like I said, in the Night and the Moth, only the gargoyle had this kind of humor, but in this one, Hala and Sarkis both had this kind of humor for 400 pages. And it's all the time, like, it's funny maybe the first 50 pages, but when you read the same kind of humor, like 400 pages more, you're like, okay, I get it. I don't really know how to understand it, how to explain it. Again, in French we have a word to describe somebody with humor that we find annoying. It's lourd, the translation is heavy. So, oh, you're heavy. It's in French you'll say, oh, t'es lourd, to say that somebody is annoying or redundant, especially with the humor. And again, I don't know how to say it in English. But yeah, I found this humor quite repetitive and not very funny, because again, nothing happened besides the humor and this very small plotline of finding somebody for the inheritance. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this book. It was quite a disappointment, especially for the length. I think maybe it would have been 200 pages less. It could have been better, because not as lot of a repetition, and the story would have stayed the same. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. And also, I also have Paladin's Grace of Kingfishers on my TBR. And now I'm not gonna rush to read it, because I don't want to be disappointed again that soon. But yeah, disappointment. And now, for the ugly. I had to remember the phrasing. For the ugly. It's not really a guess, because it's the last book of the video, and it's Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. So in my London video I talked about the fact that I had read, I think it was the second one in this series. Didn't really enjoy it, but I read another book from Paisley Hope in another series and I enjoyed this one, so I was like, oh, maybe my tastes have changed, or maybe another story from her could be good. It wasn't good. So, as you can guess from the cover, it's a rancher cowboy romance, but Nash, the male main character in this story, is not just a rancher. He's an ex-hockey player. He's a rancher, but he also owns the bar. Like, usually you only have a male main character who has one of those jobs, but the author was like, you can have them all. Just keep all the jobs to yourself. You never sleep, but that's okay because you have 3 jobs. And you also follow Cece, who comes back to the town because she has gone through a breakup, and she wants to just heal. And again, not a lot of plot besides the romance, which I also didn't really like. Firstly, I didn't really like the sex scenes. I don't know, they made me not uncomfortable, but they made me feel icky when I read them. And also there was a lot of sex scenes, so to be honest, at the end I skipped them because I don't need to read another sex scene. There's that. Then also crossing of boundaries. So for example, at some point Cece comes back to, I think it was Chicago or something like that, where she lived with her fiance that she broke up with, but she has to go back there to take her stuff back. And Cece is like, I need to do this for myself, don't follow me. And what does Nash does? He follows her. And I'm like, that's the same complaint I had with King of Greed by Hannah Huang. Like the main female character goes to Brazil, and of course the main male character follows her and he's her neighbor. And I'm like, that's creepy. And that was also the case here. And also at some point Nash says to Cece that she's very brave, she's very like selfless, and I'm like, no, that's not the case. I thought she was quite selfish, and also she's not very brave because she doesn't do really anything. I don't know, I really didn't like this book. And of course at the end there's like engagement after like 3 months, not even that, of dating. I'm like, okay. I was just over it at that point. But yeah, I really didn't like this book, so I think Paisley Hope is not really for me. Maybe I would do like one last try, but not in this series, because I read 2 of the 3 books in this series and really didn't like them. So maybe when or if she writes another book in another series, maybe I will read this one and decide if she's an author for me or not. But yeah, I really didn't like it. And also this book made me realize that I needed to annul the last book I had on my TBR from the series from SEC Verse, the Gold Rush Ranch series, because that's the same thing. I didn't like 2 of the books I read in this series, and this was the last one on my TBR, my physical TBR, and I'm like, I didn't like the other 2, I'm not gonna like this one, I don't even want to try to read this one, because I also like the other series by SEC Verse, but I just don't think this one is for me, and that's okay. So this book made me realize that I needed to unhold this one. But yeah, that's the end of the bad book, and also so the end of the video. I haven't filmed in quite a few weeks, so I feel like, whoo, now. And I think you see my energy changing from the beginning of the video and the end of the video, but oh well. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Let me know if you have read any of those books, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!